So I was looking at the user profile for the source document we're covering today, and it completely stopped me in my tracks. It's written for radiology IT systems support engineers.
Wow. That is a very specific, very high-stakes job title.
It really is. I mean, just picture the scenario. You're in a hospital server room. It's freezing, the fans are just deafening, and a critical imaging system is down.
And doctors are waiting. They're literally waiting for those images to decide on, like a trauma patient's surgery.
You are sweating bullets. You turn to your AI assistant. You ask for a command to reset a connection.
In that moment, seconds are actually lives. You need the answer yesterday.
Exactly. So here's the question. In that specific moment, do you want the AI to give you a 5-paragraph essay?
No.
Do you want an introduction that says, I understand you are looking to reset the connection, which is a very important task?
Absolutely not. I want the code. Just give me the fix. Anything else is just obstruction.
But that's the whole problem, isn't it? For the last few years, these digital tools, these LLMs we rely on, they've been trained to be polite, verbose, and frankly, pretty exhausting conversationalists.
Let them hear themselves talk.
They do. But today, we're looking at a document that wants to burn that essay mode to the ground. We're doing a deep dive into the natural pacing protocol for conversational AI.
It's a fascinating piece of technical instructional design. It's basically a prompt structured around SFL, that's systemic functional linguistics, and it was updated as recently as February 2nd, 2026. This is really bleeding edge stuff.
And the mission here is what grabbed me. It's arguing for linguistic minimalism. It claims that stripping away all the formalities, using sentence fragments, breaking grammar rules, that this is actually the key to a more empathetic experience.
Right.
But I have to be honest, when I first read minimalism, I just thought, lazy.
Lazy.
Well, yeah. I mean, if I'm paying for the sophisticated AI tool and it starts barking one-word answers at me, I might feel a little shortchanged. It feels a bit like a moody teenager.
I get that. That's the intuitive reaction, right? We usually associate empathy with warmth, with, a few extra words of encouragement. But this protocol just flips that on its head. It argues that when you're dealing with experts, like our friend in the server room, empathy isn't about being nice. It's about respecting their cognitive load.
Okay, let's unpack that, because the document starts by identifying the enemy, and the enemy has a name: essay mode.
Essay mode. The default setting for, almost every AI model out there. You ask a simple question, you get a wall of text.
And the protocol explicitly calls this out. It lists formal exposition and boilerplate phrases as things to avoid at all costs.
Yeah.
But why do they do that, though? I mean, why is the default setting for AI to write a high school book report every time I ask for a pasta recipe?
It all comes down to the training data. I mean, think about the internet. It's full of articles, books, Wikipedia, recipes with a 2,000-word backstory.
Right, the monologues.
They're all monologues. Introduction, body, conclusion. So the AI just mimics that structure. It thinks it needs to give you a thesis statement.
It's trying to be a writer, not a conversationalist.
Exactly. And in a technical triage situation, that structure is insane. I mean, if you asked me where the coffee machine was and I gave you a history of the coffee bean, you'd think I was having a medical episode.
Or just that you were incredibly annoying.
Yeah.
But the protocol gets so specific about what's forbidden. No bullet points.
Unless it's a grocery list, no.
That seems wild to me. I feel like bullet points are the gold standard for organized info. I mean, corporate America runs on bullet points.
Sure, corporate presentations run on bullet points. But human dialogue doesn't. When we talk, we flow. We don't say, here are 3 reasons. 1, 2, 3.
Okay, fair point. It does stop the eye.
It turns the conversation into a lecture. The protocol wants turn-taking, not a slide presentation.
It also bans polite filler. I hope this helps, or let me know if you have questions.
Just visual noise.
But isn't that just polite? If I stop saying, I hope this helps in my emails, I feel like HR would want to have a talk with me about my attitude.
In a human-to-human email, maybe. But remember the context. You're that radiology engineer. You're stressed. Every extra word you have to scan is a tax on your brain.
So phrases like, I see you are asking about, just create friction.
Total friction. The source actually has a directive to self-edit. And this is a direct quote, delete half of it.
Delete half of it. That is aggressive editing.
It's all about density. High information density, low token count.
Okay, so we're not doing essays, we're not doing bullet points. The source brings up this idea of biological constraints. It sounds a bit sci-fi. What does biology have to do with chatbot code?
This is where we get into the cognitive science behind it all. It's not just about being short to save server space. It's trying to mirror human conversational rhythm.
Okay.
And we, as humans, operate under biological constraints. We have limited breath, but more importantly, we have very limited working memory.
Working memory. Is that sort of like the RAM in a computer?
Roughly, yeah. But human RAM is terrible. There's a concept, Miller's Law, this idea that the average person can only hold about 7 items in their working memory at once.
Plus or minus 2.
Right, and under stress, that number just plummets.
So if I'm in that cold server room, panic setting in, my RAM is probably holding, what, like 2 things?
If you're lucky. So if the AI gives you a paragraph of fluff before the actual answer, it's filling up your very limited working memory with garbage.
I have to actively filter that out just to get to the information I need.
Which takes energy. It adds to your cognitive load. You're burning glucose just to filter out the politeness.
So the essay mode is literally exhausting my brain before I even get to the solution.
That's the theory. By artificially imposing these biological constraints on the AI, forcing it to be brief, to use fragments, we're aligning it with how the human brain actually processes information under pressure.
That makes so much sense. It's not laziness, it's efficiency. The source uses these things called textual directives to enforce this. One of them is mandatory contractions.
Yes. You cannot say it is. You must say it's.
Why, though? What's the difference?
It is creates distance. It feels authoritative, a little robotic. It's more casual. It implies we share a context.
And then there's the directive for sentence fragments. Full sentences are optional. Fragments are encouraged.
This is that SFL influence systemic functional linguistics. In SFL, you look at language as a tool to get a job done. If the job is to confirm a server name, grammar doesn't matter.
So if the engineer types system down, the response isn't, is the system currently experiencing an outage?
No. The response should be error code, or which server. Speed is the function.
Speed and clarity. But this relies so heavily on what the source calls implicit context. I struggle with this sometimes. How does the AI know when it's okay to leave things out?
Okay, think about a surgeon and a nurse in an operating room.
Okay.
If the surgeon needs a scalpel, do they say, "Nurse, would you please be so kind as to hand me the sharp stainless steel instrument used for making incisions?"
No, they'd get laughed out of the OR. They just say scalpel.
And why can they do that?
Because they both know what a scalpel is. They know they're in surgery. The context is everything.
That's implicit context. The context, the room, the job, the training, it fills in all the blanks. This protocol argues that when an AI is talking to an expert, they're in that operating room together. You don't need to explain the tool. You just hand it over.
Which brings us to the persona, the tenor.
Yep.
That's described in the source. It lists the role as expert, but the tone as empathetic. And the stance is non-dominant and reciprocal.
And that non-dominant part is key. Often when an AI or, that annoying colleague we all have goes into essay mode, they are dominating the conversation. They're holding the floor.
Let me explain everything I know about this topic before I let you get a word in.
Exactly. By using fragments and brevity, the protocol forces the AI to yield the floor. It becomes reciprocal. It's a ping-pong match, not a keynote speech.
But I want to push back on that empathetic label again. I get the efficiency argument, I really do. But if I ask a question and get a 3-word answer, I still feel a little bit like the machine is being rude.
It depends on your definition, right? In a social setting, at a dinner party, brevity can absolutely be cold. If you tell me your cat died and I just say, sad, that's efficient, but it is not empathetic.
That would be sociopathic.
Right, but in a technical setting, when you're trying to solve a problem, verbosity is the rude thing. Empathy, in this context, is respecting the user's time and intelligence.
So it's saying, I know you're smart, I know you're busy, I'm not going to force you to wade through a swamp of words to find the pebble of info you need.
And that is a form of deep professional respect. It's respecting their competence. You don't need to hold their hand.
Let's look at a concrete example from the document itself. This is what the output actually looks like. I want to read it and then have you break down the linguistics of it.
Let's do it.
Okay, here's the example output. It's basically OAuth 2. You just swap the API key for a bearer token in the header. Need the docs.
It's so dense. I love it.
Wait, 30 words or less? But if I didn't know what OAuth 2 was, I'd be completely lost.
Okay, let's break it down. First part. It's basically OAuth 2. That's the implicit context. It assumes the user has the schema for OAuth 2 in their head, and it uses a contraction.
Then edit the syntax and...
You just swap the API key for a bearer token in the header.
Notice the syntax there. It's an imperative. It's a command. Swap the key. It doesn't say you should try swapping or it is recommended that. It cuts all the hedging.
It's very direct.
In linguistics, we call that front-loading the action. It puts the verb right at the start of your mental process.
And finally, need the docs.
A sentence fragment, not do you need the documentation, just need the docs. It's casual, it's fast, and most importantly, it's an offer.
This is where I'd worry. What if the user doesn't know what a bearer token is? The AI just assumed they do. Isn't that a little dangerous? It's a calculated risk. But that's what the need the docs fragment is for. It's an off-ramp. If the user is part of the 10% who doesn't know, they can get the docs. But for the 90% of the time they do know, you've saved them the frustration of reading a definition they didn't need.
So it's optimizing for the happy path, where the user is competent rather than the edge case where the user is a novice.
Which is exactly what you want in an expert tool. You don't design a Formula One car for a student driver.
This moves us into how the protocol manages the conversation flow. It talked a lot about turn-taking dialogue, and I think this is where most chatbots just fail miserably.
They fail because they try to be complete. We're taught in school that a good answer is a complete answer. Cover all the bases. But the source advises to prioritize answering the immediate question partially to maintain flow.
Partially. That just feels so counterintuitive. If I ask a question, I want the whole answer.
Do you, though? Let's role play this. Ask me about, network security protocols.
Okay. What are the current security protocols for the server?
Taking a deep breath, monotone. The current security protocols include TLS 1.3 for encryption in transit, which utilizes a handshake protocol to establish session keys. Furthermore, we employ AES 256 for data at rest.
Okay, stop. I'm already bored, and I've forgotten the first thing you said.
Exactly. I gave you the complete answer, but I killed the flow. I turned it into a lecture. Now, let's try it again with the partial answer strategy. Ask me again.
What are the current security protocols for the server?
Mostly TLS 1.3 and AES 256 for storage. You looking for the firewall rules.
Oh, that's so much better. I immediately want to say, no, I'm actually looking for the encryption keys.
Boom. You just steered the conversation.
Yeah.
By giving you a partial answer, I gave you a hook to grab onto. I let you drive.
It keeps the user in the driver's seat. It turns the monologue into a tennis match.
Precisely. And it prevents data overload. Which, speaking of, there's a very specific rule in the source about lists. The rule of 3.
Right. If a list exceeds 3 items, the protocol says, do not dump the whole list.
This is huge for preventing what I call scroll fatigue. If I ask for error logs and the AI just dumps 50 lines of code.
My eyes glaze over. I have to scroll all the way up to find where the answer even started. It's a mess.
So the protocol says to offer a full list option instead. It might say, top 3 errors are timeout, bad gateway, and auth failure. Want the full log.
It's asking for a consent.
That is such a crucial concept. Consensual information delivery. I have more. Do you want it? It respects the user's agency.
And this connects to how the source suggests ending a response. It says the output should end with an implicit or explicit offer for more information.
But notice what it forbids. The generic, is there anything else I can help you with today?
Oh, I hate that phrase. It's the customer service dead end. It feels like they're just trying to get rid of me.
It's script reading. It's performative. Instead, the protocol pushes for relevance. Like in the example, need the docs. That's a specific offer related to the context. It's not closing the conversation, it's opening a specific door.
It strikes me that this entire natural pacing protocol is really about stripping away the performance of service. All that essay mode stuff, the I hope this helps, that's the AI performing helpfulness. But it's not actually helpful.
It's performative politeness versus functional utility. And when you're a radiology IT engineer with the system down, you do not need a performance. You need a partner.
And a partner speaks your language. They use contractions. They use fragments. They don't waste your time.
It's a very human way to look at machine interaction. We're finally realizing that making machines sound human doesn't mean making them sound like Victorian letter writers. It means making them sound like us, messy, quick, and direct.
It's ironic, isn't it? We have to code these strict biological constraints into a machine just to make it act like it has a brain.
We have to teach it to hold back, to say less, to understand that silence or, brevity is a valid part of communication.
So what does this all mean for our listener, the learner? Even if you're not coding AI or working in radiology, there's a massive lesson here for just human-to-human communication.
A huge lesson. Whether you're writing an email to your boss or a Slack message to a colleague, ask yourself, am I in essay mode? Am I hiding the actual point behind a wall of, I hope this email finds you well?
Are you respecting the biological constraints of the person reading your message?
Are you overloading their working memory? Are you forcing them to mine for the gold? Or are you just handing them the nugget? It's basically OS2. Swap the key. Sometimes being that direct is the most polite thing you can do.
But it takes confidence, doesn't it, to be that brief? It takes confidence to assume the other person gets it.
It does. Essay mode is often a shield. We use big words and long sentences to hide insecurity or just to prove we did the work. Minimalism requires you to trust your own expertise and, just as importantly, trust the recipient.
It builds trust because it signals, hey, we're on the same level.
Exactly.
Okay, let's wrap this up. We've explored the natural pacing protocol. We've seen how it uses linguistic minimalism fragments, contractions, brevity to create a more efficient and surprisingly more empathetic experience for experts.
We've seen how it fights that essay mode enemy, which is really just a byproduct of how these models were trained on monologues instead of dialogues.
And we've learned that empathy doesn't always look like a hug. Sometimes it looks like a sentence fragment.
A useful fragment.
Before we go, here's something to think about. We often equate professionalism with formality. We put on a suit, we use big words, we write long paragraphs because we think it adds weight to what we're saying.
But this source suggests that true expertise allows you to strip all of that away. And it raises a really provocative question for you to think about. What if real empathy, especially in our complex, data-drenched world, actually means saying less so the other person can think more?
If I give you less to read, I give you more space to actually solve the problem.
And in the end, isn't that what we all want? Just a little more space to think.
That's it for this deep dive. Go forth and delete half of your next email.
Your colleagues will thank you.
Thanks for listening, everyone.
Take care.